How do you make two beers from one mash? Introducing the Parti-Gyle method. This is part 3 of my Baltic Porter series. On a typical brew day, all of the mash's wort is collected into the same kettle. But way back in the day, British breweries would split runoff from their beers into separate tanks and make two different beers from the same mash. The initial runnings would be very high in sugar content and would be used to make export porters, imperial stouts, and maybe 80 shillings if you're Scottish. And then when they'd fill their first kettle, they'd divert the collection into a separate kettle, filling it with the lower sugar content wort, and this would become a lighter, more easy drinking beer called a small beer. Breweries could blend these beers at different amounts, hop them differently, and then make a full portfolio of beers all from the same mash. So, let's recap a little bit about what we learned from episode 2. I want to make a beer that's around 7.5% ABV, so to achieve that, I'm going to start with a target gravity of 18 degrees Plato, and I'm hoping to get about 75 to 80% attenuation from my 3470 yeast. And unfortunately, my brew house efficiency is very bad on my current brewing system. And after many brews, I found that my brew house efficiency is a low, measly, very bad 60%. After all my calculations, this means I have to purchase 10.4 kilograms of malt, which is more malt than I've ever used. And here's a video of me making my fest beer for Oktoberfest, which was 8.4 kilos of malt. And as you can see, it's way too full, and it could not hold 2 kilos more. So instead of doing one mash, I'm going to do two. And when I was planning this beer out, I thought, what would be cool is to do a Parti-Gyle mash. So I'll have my Baltic Porter, which ends up at around 18 degrees Plato, and I'll have a different, lighter, more easy drinking beer that I'm going to call my Parti Porter. And this is what I'm going to add my coffee to. So I split my mash into two. I did a single infusion mash at 68 degrees Celsius, which at this higher mash temperature, it's going to favor the alpha amylase. It'll leave behind more unfermentable dextrins. And kind of a general rule of thumb is if you're making a drier, crisper beer, you'd favor the 62 degrees Celsius mash. But if you're wanting a more full body beer, then you'd favor the 68 degrees Celsius mash. Once the mash hangs out at 68 degrees Celsius for an hour, I raise the temp of the mash to 80 degrees Celsius for mash out for 15 minutes. This basically will inactivate all the enzymes that are in the mash and stop the breakdown of the starches. Then I roll off the wort on the mash until it's clear, and then I start collecting. And I collect all of the liquid, dry the grains completely out. This is going to be my Baltic Porter. Then I add more water, stir, mix, re-Vorloff, and then collect again. And this becomes my Parti Porter. And then repeat for mash number 2. And then by the end of it, I've got two separate worts with my Baltic Porter pre-boil gravity is around 16 degrees Plato, and my pre-boil gravity of my Parti Porter is around 11 degrees Plato. In episode 4, I'm going to be discussing the boil, cool, and pitch. So I will see you all then.